Good evening. This is the Fire Station Building Committee meeting of Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. Meeting is being held by the members of the committee in council chambers and remote participation by the public. Calling this meeting to order pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee is being conducted via hybrid remote participation only. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted in the council chambers. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can accurately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by the remote information noted below. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website at www.ci.southbridge.ma.us as soon as we're able to. A roll call vote will be required for all votes taken under this order. Roll call of members present. Chairman Jack Jovan present. Deputy Chief Hulick.
Present.
Michael Langevin.
Present.
David Langevin.
Present.
John Shugda.
Present.
John Shugda is present via remote. And then Michael Julian. I don't see Michael online. And then Captain Jeff Matthew is excused as he is working this evening. And in order to not have any appearance of impropriety while he's working, he is not going to participate remotely, even though he would have had the opportunity to do it remotely. So thank Captain Matthew for working this evening. Item 2, vote to approve the Fire Station Building Committee minutes of April 1st, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any errors, corrections, or omissions? Seeing none, roll call. Jack Jovan, yes. Deputy Chief Hulick?
Yes.
Michael Langevin?
Yes.
David Langevin?
Yes.
John Shugda?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, good evening. This is the reason for this meeting this evening was, one, to make sure that we had the minutes of our last meeting approved so that they could go up on the website, and we'll make sure that they go up as soon as possible tomorrow morning as approved. We did make sure that all the other minutes, because I did see some stuff on social media, thank you for those people asking for those minutes, to see where they were. They were all approved on a timely manner. They just had not made it to the website under our tab for the Fire Station Building Committee. So all minutes will be up including the minutes of April 1st. The reason for this meeting tonight was a public information session and question and answer for any public that wished to join us via remote participation, and for the town manager also to provide some information relative to our proposal for the new fire station project located on Worcester Street, which is subject to a ballot question on Tuesday, June 8th, at the annual town election. That town election to take place at the new middle school, high school, during normal voting hours from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It is at the new middle school, high school, and the reason for that was simply because of the vaccination center that was placed at the community center for the COVID-19 pandemic. So this year that session would go out there, and I know the town clerk had sent to all voters the change in the address for that election. So really what I wanted to do first was just provide to the community and to the public a little outline that had been previously submitted to the town council in a brief that we had given as a committee to the town council, and then we'll turn it over to the town manager, and then if there's anybody in the public that wishes to call in or remote in to ask questions, because there's a lot of facts, figures, things that are being thrown out in the social media land about why we did this proposal, the thought process behind it, and why it is before the voters coming up next week. So just as a little bit of background, back in around 2000 or so, there was a prior fire station committee that had been charged with looking at a solution to, at that time, the 100-year-old fire station located on Elm Street in the town. The members of that committee, some longtime members that are no longer with us as well. So we had Captain Laurent McDonald from the Fire Department, Al DePietro, George Shenya, Thomas Smolars, Steve Brady, John Shugda, Deputy Chief Hulick, at the time I think was just a firefighter, I believe, or a lieutenant, maybe got promoted to lieutenant at that time.
Firefighter.
And retired Fire Chief Leonard Laporte. So back in 2000, they had done a proposal to prepare a building use and future needs analysis for the Southbridge Fire Station facilities. And part of that commentary that was listed in when they put the bid out was this Victorian-style building was built in 1899, listed on the National Historic Register, and that was a quote in 1999 by then acting town manager, Police Chief Michael Stevens. In August of 2000, a contract between the town of Southbridge, McGinley Hart and Associates LLP was commissioned to look at that study, and they gave a proposal to the town council at that time, back around September 26 of 2001, 20 years ago, where the USDA gave preliminary approval of a USDA project to be used for the renovation, again, renovation, of 17,415 square feet of the existing station constructed in 1899, and the construction of 16,325 square feet for an addition to the station, as well as the purchase of a new truck. That was a letter dated September 26, 2001, received October 2nd, 2001, by then town manager Michael Coughlin. So the total square footage of the proposed project at that time was 33,735 square feet, and at that time, the estimated cost to do that project was $4 million. When it went to the council did not take action on that because they said that it was too expensive 20 years ago to address the needs of the fire station. During that period of time, between now and today, the town of Southbridge has built a new middle school, high school. They also purchased the property on Gulfwood Road for the DPW facility, which they purchased for $1 million, and the cost of that facility, and it's still not finished because there's still work going on, is close to $12 to $14 million. Right around 2015, acting town manager Kevin Pecos decided to reactivate the fire station building committee because the problems of the fire station and the issues and needs of the fire department were still not met, and they commissioned a new committee, fire station building committee. I was appointed to the committee along with former council chairman David Langevin, former council chairman Kathy Nicola. Lieutenant Joseph Hulick at the time remained on the committee, and he was the original member. Director of Inspections Nick Tortis, Fire Chief Mark DeFranzo, and John Shugna. Lieutenant Joseph Hulick has now risen to the rank of Deputy Chief and was an original member back in 2000, and John Shugna was the other original member. All other members of the committee who were still living at that time were asked if they wished to continue, and they had opted out. On June 25th of 2015, 6+ years ago, the reorganizational meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee convened. I was elected chairman of that committee. The committee, Fire Station Building Committee, reviewed the status of all the prior iterations of the prior committee, and all agreed that we needed to evaluate the current facility as well as any new potential location. At the time, the fire chief, Mark DeFranzo, and Lieutenant Hulick attended a fire station design conference in September of 2015. Right around that time, we received a new town manager, Ron St. Angelo, and we discussed the strategy, and then we placed a request into the town manager for funding of a study, to do a feasibility study to come up with solutions for the fire station. That was met with no positive reaction at that time from the town manager. We also met with local legislators, Senator Ryan Fatman and Representative Peter Durant, as to look to local legislators for any funding that was available that would assist us in that feasibility study. In 2016, former town manager Ron St. Angelo commissioned a $30,000 study for all town buildings to tell us what the status was, and at that time the recommendations The immediate recommendations was that they needed to replace the fire station and an animal shelter. In 2016, the compact grant was issued to conduct a municipal facilities evaluation study, which was completed by Financial Advisory Associates and can be found on the Town of Southbridge website, with the study being completed in June of 2016. At that time, they evaluated the Southbridge Fire Department, which had a building area of 22,475 square feet, sat on a parcel of land of 0.25 acres, and the condition was rated as poor. In that study, the condition of poor means that the component or system has either failed or cannot be relied upon for continued use, perform its original function, excessive deferred maintenance, or state of disrepair. A repair or replacement is recommended. Finding number 1 of that study states, the fire station, built in 1899, this historic structure requires extensive repairs and renovation, the cost of which likely exceeds the cost of a new, modern facility. It is clear that the operational requirements of a 21st central fire, EMS, and regional dispatch service cannot be met within the constraints of this historic facility. The fire headquarters section of this report offers detail and supporting photos of several challenges and concerns regarding this facility. We recommend the town pursue the design and construction of a new fire headquarters facility. In November of 2017, the Fire Station Building Committee met and put out a request for qualifications for a fire station facility and design services, which was posted for selection of firms to conduct this study with a deadline of December 14th, 2017. With the assistance of Matt Desjardins of the DPW, we were able to get that proposal out for bid. There were 5 firms that submitted proposals, and we interviewed 4 of them using the design request for qualifications review and selected the firm in December of 2018. Castle Bowes was selected, and we had an aggressive time frame at the outset, but then slowed down the process so that we could make sure we had a complete and accurate study and to bring the best proposal forward to the voters of the town of Southbridge. That kickoff meeting was in February of 2018. 1 year later, approximately March of 2019, the Fire Station Building Committee made a presentation to the Southbridge Town Council with the results of the feasibility study of the following locations that were studied and evaluated. These findings can be found at the project website, and there was a rating scale that evaluated all those sites. The sites evaluated were the existing fire station located on Elm Street, Dresser Park on Main Street, a parcel of property in the area of Foster Street, the Beechwood located at 495 Main Street, which was in disrepair and now has since been taken down. Property located at 79 North Street, a property located at Marsh Ave and Elm Street near the Eastford Road School, and the 7th location was 67 Central Street. I would also like to add that we met with the town board assessor, Will Canoyer, who came into our meetings and took a map of the town of Southbridge in the core area where the fire station was best recommended to be placed and evaluated any piece of property that was available that we thought a fire station to go on. The Wells Middle School, which had been closed because of the building of the new Southbridge Middle High School, was not available as there was an ongoing purchase and sale agreement and the building was being sold, which now the purchase has been finally completed and is now, anyone that drives up Main Street can see that is in stages of extensive construction to get back on the town's tax rolls. The Fire Station Building Committee went to the town of Southbridge on March 11th, 2019 Town Council with that feasibility study with a recommendation to the Town Council to place the fire station on Marsh Ave in the area of Eastford Road. The Town Council sitting at that time provided a lot of feedback to the Fire Station Building Committee and not positive feedback on that location. Similarly, we had gone to several different groups in the town of Southbridge to present that plan, and they also met with negative feedback as to that location. The Fire Station Building Committee then circled back and decided to look at what other locations were possible based on the rating scales that were conducted by our architect. While Marsh Ave was the #1 site, the second site on the location was Central Street, located at 67 Central Street. We also reviewed a parcel of property on Thomas Street for a potential fire station. However, that location, along with where the police station is located in the flood zone, and we cannot have two stations in the flood zone. On September 23rd of 2019, the Fire Station Building Committee came back to the Town Council and presented our recommendation that we move forward with our Central Street proposal. That location was met with favorable results from the Town Council, and we continued to work with our architect to devise a design that we could bring to the town of Southbridge. In addition, it might be added that we work closely with our planning board downstairs, our planning department, as the town of Southbridge is undergoing a major road construction project in the area of Hamilton Street, Central Street, Foster Street, and that corridor. The piece of property was located directly across from the RMV. The Fire Station Building Committee, knowing that the road project was moving forward, made sure to consult with the Department of Transportation to make sure that we did not come back after the road had been designed and put a fire station where the road had just been built. We worked closely with the Department of Transportation to make sure that whatever changes we would need would be placed into those plans. Unfortunately, on June 25th, 2020, former town manager Ron St. Angelo recommended to the town council a motion to approve a marijuana host agreement at the very location that we had presented to the town council for the siting of a fire station. This Fire Station Building Committee then went back to review any additional locations. It should be noted that the cost for the existing fire station to renovate and add on to was approximately $2 to $3 million more than building a brand new location. The Fire Station Building Committee then came upon a recommendation to the Town Council on November 11th, 2020, with a recommendation for a new site that had been brought up at one of our meetings by many individuals, including the former fire chief, Lanny Laporte, to place the fire station in an area adjacent to Henry Street Field located on Worcester Street. We proposed that location to our architect, who went back and looked at the design that we had on our fire station and made sure that we could fit a fire station in that location. We had recommended come to the Town Council with that location and met with favorable feedback on that location and had many discussions about possible design costs and pursuing design costs to get accurate pictures and photos or design. At that time, it was decided that we would put the motion before the town to see if they wished for us to build this fire station at considerable cost and provide some direction as to where we're going. On April 5th of 2021, the Town Council voted to accept the recommendation of the Fire Station Building Committee to site a fire station on Worcester Street and place the question on a referendum at the next town election. On April 26, 2021, the Town Council voted on the language proposed by the town manager for the ballot, and there were questions about the concerns of the cost and how we would present this to the voters. The town manager will outline what that process will be, and I'll leave it to him. On May 10th, 2021, given the fact that there were questions about what the town would be voting on for the dollar amount, what our proposal would be, and what the debt exclusion dollars would be to the town of Southbridge, the Town Council voted in a 6-3 vote to authorize the borrowing of up to $25.7 million contingent on passing the debt exclusion vote. So that is an outline of where we are and how we spent 6 years on this project to bring the most sensible, cost-effective, state-of-the-art building for our Southbridge firefighters and our community. I know personally in the conversations that I had with the fellow colleagues that I have on the fire station committee, and thank you all for the hard work that was done throughout the last 6 years to make sure that the station that we built fit the needs of the fire department. There's been a lot of conversation about how many bays there are, what equipment it is, and I'm sure the deputy chief will allude to some of the thoughts of while we have this one station here, there's a bunch of equipment that's spread throughout the community, and our job and our charge was to present to the voters of Southbridge a feasibility study as well as a proposal as to what the best solution is to address the needs of the fire department. So with that, I guess I'll make you the presenter, Mr. Town Manager, and Deputy Chief, or Deputy Chief, which one wants to be presented, and we can go through the slides.
I think it might be best if Deputy Chief Hewlett started and go over basically the issues that the committee identified, and then I can explain the information that we put up on the website relative to the wording in the ballot and the information about the costs and to the taxpayers.
Thank you. Deputy Chief Hewlett?
Okay, thank you. So I've been providing this information to many folks throughout the community organizations, and I'd like to provide it for you this evening. As an informational session, one of the things that we're trying to make aware to the community is the challenges that we face. As you can see in these photos, we have the challenges of the size of our apparatus within the existing facility. We have structural deficiencies within the facility. The photos that are shown here on the lower side is Bay 4, which has a steel I-beam, which was a temporary fix over a decade ago. The top right photo again is also temporary repairs that were made a decade ago, which continue to show shifting in the building. Bottom right corner is the fact, and it's brought up in many points during this discussion, is that we have one shower to suit 34 firefighters after coming back from a fire. We need to get the soot, cancer-causing agents, chemicals off of us as quickly as possible, and it is very difficult to do that with one shower with 34 people, even in the fact that we get about 4 minutes of hot water in that facility. The immediate repairs that were identified in the 2016 study were estimated at that time at about $9 million. Those have been escalated by our current architect and currently would be about $10 million. Those repairs would solve structural issues within the facility, but would not give us any additional spaces, would not solve the issues of the space or the size of the facility, or any of the technology upgrades or anything else that we would need. All it would do is take the current facility and keep it standing. These are various examples of the structural failures within the facility. There are cracks in the masonry. There's separations between additions from the original 4-bay building to the current 6-bay building. Again, the steel I-beam and the supports that hold that up. All of these are items that would need to be addressed if we were to stay in the facility. As the chairman alluded to, we have roughly 22,000 square feet within our facility, and that includes our attic space. In addition to that, we have equipment stored throughout the community, including at our DPW facility, the Morris Street Field House, and in the winter, we also have items stored at the old salt shed or the sewer plant at this point in time. If you add up those additional spaces that we occupy, we currently occupy about 30,000 square feet. So essentially, the additional space that we're looking to add is about 3,000 square feet at this point, 33,000 square feet. And that essentially overcomes ADA recommendations as far as what spaces need to be for people to move through pathways. These photos represent the truck, the aerial ladder that would be here in the next couple of months. That is a Boston ladder truck that was pre-delivery. The footprint of that truck is identical to what we are receiving. And you can see in the far left photo how tight it is. It's mere inches from the top of the ladder to the top of the door space. And in the far right photo, you can see that the diesel particulate evacuation system prevented the vehicle from coming into the building. We have made the adjustments to make this vehicle fit in that current space, but this truck is $1.1 million. And taking the chances of fitting that vehicle into that bay every time is an absolute challenge, but we still need to provide services to the community. The additional spaces in a new facility would be wider doors, taller doors, and unobstructed entry into the facility. So moving on to the potential Worcester Street site. The current facility that's there is an automotive facility of repair and sales, and it's about 2.29 acres on that site. Ideally, we would be looking for 3.5 acres, but due to the modifications that we've made with this Worcester Street site, we've been able to fit the 33,000 square feet on the site plan of 2.29 acres with the addition of the automotive property and 2 additional properties on Snow Street. As I've pointed out to many folks that I've spoken to in the recent times, this is a conceptual image of what a fire station could look like on that site. This is not a final design. This is something for people to see and be able to imagine what a station could look like. The actual finishes of the facility, the style of the facility, those all remain to be determined, but we needed something for people to look at, as well as a design and square footage base to come up with an opinion of probable cause. Here is the site plan that shows the facility, the main facility, and also an auxiliary building in the back that would house the items, most of the items that you saw on an earlier slide that are spread out all over the community. One of the charges of the Fire Station Building Committee was to keep everything at least on one site, if not under one roof. This does accomplish this on one site. That smaller building is essentially a stick-built garage, a much lower cost of construction than the added square foot to the main facility. It allows for drive-in, drive-out bays. It has an 80-foot apron that allows us to address training, vehicle checks, all those items, and also being able to get into the building without going into the street. Currently, we have to go into the middle of the street, sometimes to wash vehicles, to do training, to check vehicles, test hose, and put firefighters at risk during those times. This also allows for off-street parking for the public and plenty of parking for firefighters in a large-scale incident. The town has invested heavily in our firefighters to prevent cancer at this point. We've provided them with the best gear money can buy. We have through the town council, been able to put almost every firefighter at this point through a cancer screening. Firefighters, on average, have a 13% higher cancer rate than the average person, and the average firefighter lives 9 years past their retirement. What we're trying to accomplish with this new facility is allowing for a decontamination flow path that essentially brings a dirty firefighter from the apparatus floor, clean out the other side without cross-contaminating anywhere else in the facility. The right side of the screen is where the gear would be stored. Currently, our gear sits in the apparatus bay, which is subject to diesel particulates, emissions, dust, pollen, exposure to sunlight, which degrades the gear faster. The right side of this photo would be a negative pressure room that draws contaminants out of the room even after the gear's been cleaned. It allows for the gear to be cleaned at a much more rapid rate, more sets at one time, and get it back in service. And then just in this area here would allow for there to be 4 showers, which would get us through our firefighters clean that much faster.
Just switch this. Did you log on, Mr. Town Manager? Are you logged into the meeting?
No. I forgot. I thought I stayed in from the other one.
I can put the slides up if you want.
Yeah. If you can, that'd be great, because you're still...
I didn't know if you were taking questions at this time on that part of the presentation.
Are there any questions from the public? Any questions? Okay. So just a couple comments on, again, it's conceptual design, it's not the final design. We went down the road of not pursuing design cost without having the location secured in a vote, because if our neighbors down the street in Charlton have spent, I'm not sure how much, maybe close to $700,000 for design, and have not been approved by and they went back to their town meeting for additional funding to the tune of another $600,000, I believe. So $1.3 million in design. Our option was to come to the voters and say, this is our conceptual design. There are some questions out that I've seen in Facebook and social media. It says, what kind of materials are you going to use, brick or metal? Again, to the Deputy Chief's point, until we get the final design, that would all be part of the design cost. This is just a conceptual design about what the space needs would be and what the opinion of probable cost would be based on best estimates by our architect, who does a pretty good job in cost estimating.
I'm in there.
You're in? Okay. Okay, sir. All right, I'm now going to turn it over to the town manager, who's going to talk about, and I do want to thank the town manager, Michael McCall, for all the work that he helped in the last 8 months that he's been here now, I believe. 8 months. Hard to believe it's been 8 months because of the amount of work that he's done, but he really did come aboard in this project and really provided a lot of guidance and support to us to make sure that we do this in the most cost-effective and correct way to bring it to the voters of the town. Mr. Town Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you reshare with me? I couldn't get into my PowerPoint at first.
I got you as presenter.
All right. There we go. So what I wanted to start with, and for those who are listening, this information is available on the town's website. I believe you can find it under the main page and the town manager's page. And what I just wanted to go over was the information relative to the ballot question and the costs. We do get questions from time to time here at Town Hall. So one of the questions that did come up was the wording of the question. This is straight from the statutory language from the informational guide that's put out relative to Proposition 2.5 overrides and debt exclusions. There is no dollar amount in the question, so this is exactly what you will see on the ballot. It says, shall the town of Southbridge be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5, so-called, the amounts required to pay for the bond issued in order to pay the costs of design, site acquisition, and construction of a fire station, including all costs incidental or related thereto. And what this means, exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5, is there are two types of questions that can be subjected or submitted to the voters. A true Proposition 2.5 override is something that stays in the tax base. A debt exemption question, which has been put forward here, is one that you will borrow for a limited amount of time, and once that borrowing has been paid off, it will come off your tax rolls. And that's typically done with a large capital project, such as a fire station or school building or something similar. And so the explanation, and again, this is on the town's website, and this was reviewed by our town council, says, if approved by the Southbridge voters, the debt exclusion question is for the purpose of replacing the existing 122-year-old fire station on Elm Street and would increase property taxes to pay the debt service on bonds sold to pay for the design, site acquisition, and construction of a new fire station to be located on Worcester Street. The estimated total cost of the project is $25.7 million. Although we will not know the exact amount of the impact on the tax rate until the time of bond financing, it is estimated that the impact on the real estate bills will be in the range of 6 to 8%. For the average single-family home in Southbridge, the estimated increase on the real estate tax bill will be in the range of $251 to $315. The tax increase will remain in effect until the bonds are fully paid. Now, what that means, we don't know the exact amount. When we go out for financing, the interest rates are set. There may be some, when we come in with an exact proposal, things could change slightly, but we anticipate it not to exceed that amount. This particular slide was provided to me by Deputy Hulick when the architect was working with the fire station building committee before my arrival. They looked at several different possibilities and what the potential costs would be, and this is how they came up with the cost for the $25.7 million. The opinion of probable cost from the architecture went over the construction costs, the indirect costs, as well as the land acquisition. As we indicated in the explanation, our plan is that it would not exceed the $25.7 million. Hopefully, things could be a little less depending upon the incidental costs, construction, taking advantage of rates at that time. So in the explanation, we predicted that the potential impact could be in a range of 6 to 8% on the average family's tax bill. That's because we looked at one of two options. We looked at whether we would bond this over 20 years versus 30 years. You would save more money, as you may know, if you went out and got a mortgage or a car loan for a shorter term. You could save money, but you will have higher payments. The same is true here when we go out and do a bond for the fire station. I've also received questions about the USDA grant or loan that came up, and Chairman Joven mentioned it years ago. We did look to see if we could get a USDA grant, and at this time we were told by representatives from the USDA that we would not qualify. So we will be going a traditional bonding route, and we've looked at using calculators provided by the state what the impact would be. So if we were to go out for a 30-year bond at what we believe our current rates or estimated rates at the time we would be going out, we would have to increase our taxes by the $1.3 million annually for the 30-year period. That the 1.3 million is highlighted in yellow on this slide. So if we looked at that, our current tax rate is $19.44 per thousand. The amount of increase on that tax rate would be $1.17. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the impact for the average family residence, which is estimated by the assessor to be $214,000. The increase on the annual tax bill would be approximately $251. You can go down the column. If your home is worth more than that, if your home's worth $350,000, you go across and you can see that your taxes would go up an additional $409, and you can continue down the list depending upon the value of your home. Similarly, if we were to borrow for a shorter period of time, for 20 years, the payments would be significantly higher, closer to 8% increase on your tax bill. We would be paying off the $1.8 million annually for those 20 years on top of our levy. Again, our current tax rate in the upper right-hand corner is $19.44 per thousand. We would have to increase that for the period of bonding by $1.52. So for the average single-family home, if we were borrowing just for 20 years, the tax impact on that bill would be $326.41. Again, following down the column based on the value, the assessed value of your home, which you could find on the assessor's database. You could look up your assessed value and you could approximate what the cost would be for either borrowing scenario. And lastly, I just put in a disclaimer, which we also have on the website, that says, while the town is limited as to the resources it may expend on advocating or opposing a ballot question, please note that these materials are public records and anyone could print and forward these to the voters. If people were to do that, it's important to know that they'd be aware of campaign finance law, which requires that any time people spend money together to promote or oppose a ballot question, they must file with the town clerk as a ballot question committee. So the materials that we presented, Deputy Hulick and I, this evening, have been strictly informational, which we have placed up on the website, and they're solely to address any questions that people may have this evening. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would turn it over for any questions from the audience relative to either Deputy Hulick's presentation or the ballot question and the impact on the tax rate.
Okay. Any questions from anybody out in the public? Any questions? I'm not seeing a lot of people, which is regrettable that not a lot of people have signed into this meeting with their opportunity to ask questions about this important project. So any questions, comments from Mr. Langevin, Michael Langevin?
Yes, I would like to state a couple of things. I have worked with the architect on this building committee before. He did Bay Pass addition and renovation. At that time, people right now are on Facebook and stuff saying, well, how do you know the price is what it is? This architect came up with a price for Bay Path, and that came in under budget. I just want to stress that. People are all worried about the cost and everything, and I am too. I'm a taxpayer, but this architect has a proven track record already of coming up with a figure, and I was on the committee that built that building also, and it came in under budget and on time, and it was a major renovation and addition. My second train of thought is there's a lot of people, oh, my tax rate, and I do understand it. I really, really do. But basically, I'll use Councilor Marchetti's numbers of $250 a year. He likes to put it at a 30-year note, and he's spreading it as $7,500 is going to cost the taxpayer, which is true. That's over 30 years. It comes down to $250 a year, and that is 69 cents a day or $21 a month to fix a major problem in this town. I do not think that is an absurd amount of money. This committee has put in countless hours to, at one point we were at $33 million, Central Street was $28.8 million, and now we're asking for $25.7 million. We have put in the work. The firefighters of this town deserve something better than what they are operating out of right now. And I'm going to tell you, I was a firefighter 36 years, ended up an assistant chief. These guys do a phenomenal job. They don't deserve to wait for a shower for 4 hours before they get the cancer-causing agents off of their bodies. They deserve better, and for 69 cents a day, it's not a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Dave Linder? Oh, Mr. Thomas? Yeah.
Informational.
Yeah. Again, we just want to be careful that this is just an informational only, so we're putting out the information that we have available to us. Council Dave Linder?
Thank you. First of all, sitting here listening to the whole time frame that the chairman laid out for the general public back in 2000, and here we are now in 2021, and we're still talking about our Southbridge fire station. And the reason why we're talking about that, and it's come up in the past, is we don't have the money for it. And I guess what I would say is, when is going to be the time that we are able to do this? I too, I'm not big into social media, but lately I have been big into social media, responding to people. You get misconstrued on social media. You could say one thing, but they twist it the other way, and there's a lot of rumor mills going out there and stuff. But I can tell you, this committee has been open and honest through the whole process. All the information is out to the general public. They can go and look, they can come here and look, they can go on the websites and look. It's all out there. We have no hidden agenda. All we're trying to do is take care of our local fire department that deserves to be in a modern fire station. Now, we can all look back, and I think a lot's changed since 9/11, and then go a step further, the Worcester storage fires. You really never heard about that word of cancer too much. It was that silence thing, and then all of a sudden you start hearing about it more. And, studies have proven, you hear that word, carcinogens, okay? And that's part of cancer. The community and the town's been great to the firefighters in screening them, okay? They're protecting their asset that they have in front of them, okay? Now it's time for the community to step up and protect our firefighters and give them the state-of-the-art building that they deserve. As stated, okay, 121 years old. The town manager came up with a bonding of 20 years, 30 years, however they have to go. We've had this conversation on social media, okay? Well, now's not the good time, okay? You're right. When is going to be a good time? Okay? And is it a bad time? The interest rates are at an all-time low. As the town manager said, think of people refinancing their houses. It's happening every day right now to put either more money back in your pocket or put more money back into your house to increase your value. Okay? So yes, if the average taxpayer's house is $220,000, okay, that's what it's going to be. But if the taxpayer's house is valued more, well, yeah, they're going to pay that difference. Okay, so there's no direct good answer on this, okay? All I know is it's time. The deputy said, you know, the new new truck that's coming in is $1.1 million. The tower truck that we have in there was $750,000. The pumpers that we have in there, because they have to be special ordered to get through the door, we're talking a range of $450,000 to $500,000, okay? Now then you throw in the ambulance and stuff. Don't you think it's time to make an investment in a proper building that they can get in and out of safely, okay? We just gotta be open and honest and be real about this. Because, again, we're talking horse and buggy. Horse and buggy. I would love, and I don't know if the chief could answer this, or what is the average weight of an engine right now, fully loaded?
42,000.
42,000, okay? That's one vehicle, correct?
Yes.
Okay? So start doing the math of the engines that we have with water, plus the vehicles in there with a horse and buggy design. We should be down in the basement pretty soon. What could happen is if down the road something happens and it happens to a firefighter, because the facility might not be safe, you're going to have potential lawsuits down the road that cost the town even more money. Okay? Now, I always look at myself as a good money manager. Why would I want to go spend $7 million, $10 million that will renovate and help the fire station and take care of some of the concerns, but not the major concerns with the garage door? You might as well open up the window and throw that money out, or shut the window and invest the 25 plus million and get it done for the next 50 years. Remember, as my brother said, and I'll stick with it, we're talking a cup of coffee at McDonald's, because their cups of coffee are $1. You're going to get change back for that $1. Look at it that way. I believe our public safety firefighters, men and women, are worth more than $1 a day. And if you want to say this is passionate for us, it is, because the Landry family had 6 generations in that building. 6, 1899. Okay, it's time to move forward for the new firefighters in this town. So I ask you, please get out, do early voting this week during town hall hours.
Again, this is not a vote yes, this is just information, please.
Vote on June 8th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Sugar, do you have anything you want to add? Are you all set? No? Okay. Chief Norman?
So just, you know, obviously the deputy and I have been going and speaking with several groups, and as he mentioned earlier, I think as we go through these exact slides which you've seen tonight, citizens, I think the biggest, one of the biggest things that we find that a lot of the people kind of have an eyebrow awakening kind of look on their faces. You look at the construction price that's on that particular, on those slides. Right now, the building construction is $12.4 million. Now, as an average homeowner or a business owner, I could go out and hire a plumber or an electrician for about $40 to $50 an hour. I think it's important to let you know that this project is being built through a prevailing wage system. The state of Massachusetts uses prevailing wage, and basically that gives the unions the way to get a little bit more money. They're contracted into that particular wage scale. This project is probably an electrician and a plumber is probably closer to the $90 or $100 per hour, just because of the contracting and the municipality laws throughout the state. I think, so again, that 12.4 million is a prevailing wage number. We cannot get away from that. That's very important for everybody to understand. Prevailing wage is here, and I don't see, town manager, I don't think you think it's going to go away anytime soon. That is a number that we're stuck with, and that's a process that we have to continue to use. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to weigh in? Anyone from the public? All right, I just want to, I guess, wrap this up, since there's no questions from the public. Again, this, Councilor Adams, did you have something you want to say? Go ahead, you all set?
I did. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate everybody's time tonight. I guess my biggest question here is, what's the biggest myth your committee's seen so far? I know you guys have put a lot of information out there, but what's the biggest myth that you as a committee have seen that you'd like to state tonight or counter tonight? Thank you.
Thank you. Just, I guess a couple things that I'll state as chairman. One, this committee over the last 6 years has really done an analytical approach to the needs of the fire station, to look at all the equipment that they have, the personnel that they have. We have discussed what other towns' buildings look like. We have evaluated, because you hear some things about, well, Dudley built theirs for X number of dollars. Well, you know, you go back and you look at the cost and you look at their area and what they built, and already I believe they've outgrown what they've already built. They've had issues with the way it was designed and the ability to get into different bays. So it's not apples to apples, it really is what is unique to Southbridge. Then I reached out to the deputy chief captain in Charlton and said, hey, give me an outline of, because we hear about, does the town of Southbridge need all this equipment? Does the fire department need all this equipment? What are the impacts of that equipment in the size of the station? Why does it have to be so big, comparable? Well, when you look at size, the majority of the size requirements are really spatial to the bays themselves to give them adequate room for, one, the trucks going in and out. And I wish anybody to go down and watch trucks go in and out of those bays. The ability to have a space where trucks come in and they're not putting fumes into their area where firefighters are having dinner. Safety concerns as to, we wanted to build a reasonable facility that addressed all the needs of the firefighters now and into the future without it making it such the typical, what you hear, Taj Mahal, those cancer-causing things and safety issues. So really the big things that I think I hear out there is size. Why so big? There's a reason for that. We have equipment and people don't see all the equipment that is spread throughout the town to try to get that under the footprint, number one. I think the other thing is why simply you don't just renovate the existing station. Just renovate it. Or just fix what was in that study. That study addressed needs for repairs to the building without addressing anything when it comes to putting locker rooms, showers, the size of the doors, the decontamination areas, roughly between $7 and $10 million just for repairs of the building. Then I hear, well, what are you going to do with the building once you get rid of it? Well, we would look to the town to say, what is the reuse for that building? Perhaps not as a town building. And again, you have to look at, well, if it needs all those repairs, why would somebody buy it? Well, you're talking different uses. To bring it up to code to be a fire station is much different than perhaps selling it or getting it out onto the tax rolls or whatever we do where a private individual comes in and wants to invest in the building but not put to make it a fire station with all those needs, but roughly a reuse. We see people that are coming into the town of Southbridge now at wells, reuse of that building to apartment complexes back on the tax rolls. We know there's a project going on at K Street. So those are the other things. We really did study, and that's the thing I think I want the public to know is that we really did study this project and looked at all the equipment that is needed and what is the best building and solution to present to the voters of the town of Southbridge. Again, we're all taxpayers on this committee. So it is tough because we hear, and I think as a council, sitting on the council, we hear, what about roads? Well, we have a roads plan in place. We are addressing roads. You might not see it today, but this new town manager has brought together a proposal for a pavement management program that is being used through dollars and new dollars to make sure that we don't impact the taxes. Out-of-the-box solutions. What has this committee done? We have reached out to Congressman Neal's office and said, look, we have to build a station. We can't keep kicking the can down the road, but we need some help. So we would continue to look at some additional aid. Council Adams, to your point, you just brought up about one of the other things, and one of the solutions was perhaps to take the park next to the fire station. You presented, or your group has presented to the council with unanimous approval to rededicate that park as which was the first public park, so that puts limitations on it. Contingency costs, well, you're going to build it for $25 million, or you're asking for 25, it's going to make it 30 million. No, we've built in contingency to those projects. So I think we have done our homework. We were not just coming to the voters of Southbridge to say, here's our recommendation, here's the costs, and vote it, and we haven't looked at it. We have really looked at it. And I just want to close, I think, unless anybody else has any questions or comments from the public. Just want to close with this article, again, that was written back in 2001 probably, where Fire Chief Laporte says, I was amazed at the cost too, because councilors were amazed at the cost back in 2001. I think we're amazed at the cost and the solution 20 years later. None of the councils debated the need to improve the station. That's 20 years ago. We're 20 years down the road. None of the councilors that I sit with have said or debated that there's a need for a solution for the fire station. And so that's why this committee has worked hard to bring the best possible solution to the voters of Southbridge. The most cost-effective and right solution to address the needs. Mr. Town Manager, do you have anything else, or anybody else on the committee? Dave Landry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we're getting ready to close up, it would really be nice to, and I will say there's been a lot of people through this whole process. I'm working hard to bring everything possible, educate the community as much as possible. I know the chief has reached out saying, hey, they did have one open house before, and Chief, could you say how many people came in for that open house then?
About 3 people.
3 people. Now, they've extended it again this weekend, coming up for an open house. I believe it was 8 to 4?
8 to 4, Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, 8 to 4, Saturday and Sunday. Again, so the community, and there's one thing we've said on social media a lot, is do your homework. Go see. There is nothing to hide. Go, the guys there and women, they will be happy to show you around, give you a tour. They'll be happy to put your child, if you bring your child on, it's every kid's dream to sit on a fire engine, okay? Do your homework. All the information's been out there, but really, there's some people in this community that pay very close attention to the politics of this community, and they educate, and you can tell because they have the right answers. They're on the ball. And then there's other people in this community that just like to stir the pot, and we keep on saying, just go out there, please, and just do your homework. Go see the fire station. Check it out. Look at all the information that we brought up. So please, I just ask you one last time, just go do your homework. It's all right there. Go tour the fire station and see for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. So for the voters of Southbridge, the information is there. You can go to the website, which will explain the ballot question. You can go to the town manager's website as well with a link to the study that was done in 2016 if you wish to look at any information that was put forward on the fire station then. You can go to the fire department, well, we do have a website as well, that there's a link that you can look at the feasibility study. So the information is out there. This purpose of tonight's meeting was to provide the voters the information that's available from this committee of what we've done to bring this to the vote for the referendum with all accurate information through the town manager's office and what the needs assessment was. So I thank you all for being here this evening. Ms. Town Manager, do you have anything else to add in closing?
No, Mr. Chairman, other than to thank the members of the committee. I was a late joiner as I started working here last fall. And again, we want to make sure that regardless of your position, you have the necessary information and do your homework. And if there are any other questions about the interpretation of the taxes, people can call my office and we can put them in touch with the assessor as well. The information on the website does have links to the assessor's database, so if you want to check the assessed value of your home, if you wanted to get a more detailed explanation of what questions about the impact to you personally, again, the town manager's office or the assessor's office could help you with those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
And I would say, remind everybody to go out and vote next Tuesday. And we're going to be at the new location. We're going to be voting not where we usually do at the Armory, but we're going to be voting at the high school, middle school. And I don't have the hours off the top of my head, but we can get those from the town clerk's website.
7 to 7.
7 to 7.
7 a.m. to 8.
7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah. Right.
on Torrey Road.
Okay. Thank you. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I could make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
And a roll call. Jack Jovian, yes. John Sugar.
Yes.
David Landrivan.
Yes.
Michael Landrivan.
Yes.
Joseph Hewlick.
Yes.
Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you.